Hello and welcome to another episode of VRAI Talk. I'm Danny at VRAI Magazine, and joining me for this episode is my colleague and an amazing friend, MJ Cadiz. MJ, how
Hello.
are you?
Hi. How you doing, Dan?
I'm good. I'm good. I am I'm really excited to be able to chat with you today because I'm just looking at this as like, we're going to be chatting amongst friends here. So
Okay.
just the two of us chatting, nobody else around, so just ignore everything else and just, we're going to chit chat.
Hey, I'm all for chit-chatting.
Good. All right, so just a little background for everybody that's tuning in and watching this is MJ and I have known each other for quite a long time now. And unfortunately for her, she's been stuck with me ever since I got to know her from way back when. I'm
Stop.
not going to give you a date or time or anything because that'll date us too much. But I had the privilege of working with her as a professional colleague back in our corporate days and business days and everything. And somehow, as my journey has continued and evolved into the magazine that I have today, I kind of dragged her into it. So
You
here
did
she
not
is today.
drag me. I came willingly.
Willing. Well, thank you. Say that now because I'll hold you to this recording and everything.
Okay.
But a little more background. So MJ, as far as working with me on the magazine, she has been integral in terms of helping with like a creative eye in terms of logos, design. And then we've launched some digital magazines. The first one was A View to Delicious with Carissa Bennett, a chef out in Oregon. And MJ was the creative force in terms of coming up with that creative look and feel and making sure it tied in with Carissa and her style. I'll put this all in the link in the bottom so you can see what she did. And then after that, we did another digital magazine called Allie's Boho Living, and a very different look and feel because it had more of a bohemian flair to it because that's what Allie is all about. And again, I'll put links to all this stuff. So MJ has put her creative stamp on various pieces throughout this magazine digitally and the stuff that we're doing. And today we're going to talk about her latest stamp in what she's done. And I am super excited about this thing that we're working on together. Unfortunately, the reason it came about is another story that, I'll dive into a little bit more about that. But for now, it's about getting to know MJ and just sharing with the world her creative talents, because I've seen it ever since, and I'm fortunate to be able to work with her to this day. So, MJ,
Yes.
so with that said, can you share a little bit about who you are, your background, and just give folks a little primer on who is MJ Cadiz and what is she all about?
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to collaborate with you on our latest project and for this opportunity to be a part of your VRAI Talk series. My background starts from when I was a kid. I always loved to draw. That was the one thing that was a constant. And I would doodle and draw even like in classes where I'm supposed to be paying attention. And that was something that teachers always commented, like, Mary Jo could do better if she wasn't drawing all day. So of course I took that into, my career where I just had this passion for art and drawing. And, the Art Institute has always been my sanctuary for, where I would go to for inspiration and what I wanted to be later on in life. So it eventually evolved into a career. I majored in Bachelor's of Advertising and Design and started in sales promotion. Then I worked in publication, advertising, corporate, graphic design. And then towards the later part of my career, I got into illustration. Even though I started out in illustration, I got more into it later only because clients were starting to request illustrations that were so specific that I could never find it in, any stock illustration house or whatever. So I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to draw it. And eventually I started drawing more for campaigns and for specific styles that they requested, that it just became more natural. And I found myself drawing more and more and more. And I found that in the last few years, I've just really come back to what this all started for me, and I love it immensely. And for me, drawing it's been this visceral reaction. It's always been something where it's my form of daydreaming, and I'm always happy to apply it to anything.
Well, that's great. And I'm curious though, when you talk about illustration, is it all digital on a computer or tablet, or is it actually hand drawn with a pen and an ink, or what's your process like? I'm just curious about that.
It depends on the request. Like for clients, there may be some digital drawing, but it still comes from a foundation of sketching it out and coming up with the ideas, and then I could bring it electronically. But for the most part, I've been hand drawing it just because it's the most natural looking, and it's just more authentic. So for me, I will sketch it out, think it out, and then draw it, and then apply finishing touches and just adding, color and texture to it, whatever it needs to be. But it always comes from a concept or an idea first.
Got it. And is this like, is the concept something that you come up with, or do you partner or collaborate with whoever you're working with for the idea? How does that all work out? I'm just curious.
Usually depending on for a project, it's usually I collaborate with a writer, we come up with a concept or a theme and we develop from there. But for the most part, it comes from just, having an idea of the subject matter and just my first reaction.
You mentioned a little bit about, when you're sketching or doodling or creating this stuff. Does it happen throughout the day? If you don't, let's say you don't have a project or an assignment, are you just doodling? I'm just curious. Or how does it happen?
If I'm like, say I'm waiting for a call, or I'm waiting for something, or I'm in the middle of something, I will literally take out, I always have some kind of paper or some form of paper around me, and I just start drawing. And before I know it, I'm actually like adding to it. I'm, adding more to it, enhancing it. And then before I know it, I have this thing like, oh, wow, cool, I did this. And I kind of just set it aside. But I have a collection of doodles everywhere. And sometimes I save it and sometimes I don't. But it's something that I did, like just what people do if they're just sitting around, they may fiddle with something or whatever. For me, that's what doodling is. It's just something that I do just to keep my, brain. Like I said, it's a form of daydreaming.
Got it. Is it therapy as well too?
It is very therapeutic. Yes, it's cheaper than shopping. So.
Oh, good. Good to hear. I'm sure somebody's happy about that in your household to hear that.
Yes. Otherwise, there'd be a room full of shoes that I don't wear. So.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear. Well, so for full disclosure for everybody, I have seen MJ's doodles and her sketches from time to time. And so I have been very aware of her.
I think we've sat in meetings together where you saw me doodle and you're like, is she paying attention or not? Yeah.
No, well, and over time, you've just texted me like a doodle or two in terms of what you've been sketching or drawing something. So
I do.
So I am very familiar with that then. So that's great. All right, let's talk about, so anything else you want our viewers or listeners, readers to know about you in terms of your background then?
That's about it. I mean, I'm mostly from a professional standpoint, I'm mostly from a corporate advertising background, but my first love is always art and painting and drawing. That's always been the foundation for everything I do.
Let me take folks back a little to kind of how all of this started in terms of what we're talking about today, right? So I started creating face masks by hand, by sewing them, by sewing them and creating face masks because, well, everybody knows what's happening and going on in the world today, so I don't have to go into that whole situation. We're going to keep this lighthearted and uplifting and stuff. So, but yours truly learned how to sew and use a sewing machine and started making face masks, okay? And I started giving that to family and friends, and that's what I started doing. And I said, you know what, this magazine is all about fashion and style, and I think this would be perfect as something to add on in our little shop and store that we have here at VRAI Magazine. So I started with a little shop that has a few face masks that I've been creating. So I don't even remember when you and I started talking at one point in time. We were chatting about something else. And then MJ said something to me that really was really interesting, and it really resonated with me because she said that, do you remember what you told me about the face masks that you find out there?
Yeah,
that you've been seeing?
I was telling you, like, I know we have to wear these face masks, but they're just such a grim reminder of what's going on. They look so sterile and hospitalized. I'm like, we need to do something where it feels good to wear it. Like it kind of showcases your personality, or just showcases, not showcases, but it shows your, it's a form of expression. Remember, I think I said expression.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't it be great if we could just make these just more, more individualized, or just, you know, just more
More
artistic
beautiful.
even? Yeah, like I know that we have to wear these masks, but does it is a grim reminder, but let's wear it, and it helps you kind of accept the situation, you know, to wear something, you know, like complements your outfit, or it's just something that's just not as it's such as, you know, such a grim reminder of what's going on. So when you actually did the test, you know, because for me, I'm just drawing these things, whatever, and then the one day that you said, well, send them to me, let's see, you know, maybe I could put it on a mask, I'm like, all right, sure, whatever. And then when you put it together, I'm like, oh my god, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, it's actually kind of nice to wear it, and it's like, you know, it there's a form of expression when you wear something like that. And
Yeah.
I think the whimsy behind some of these illustrations that I'm putting together makes it kind of lighthearted in a
Yeah.
sense.
Well, no, I mean, I remember when we started talking that one day, and you brought up that problem that you had in terms of you couldn't find anything that really you wanted to wear that you felt good in,
Yeah,
and because of the fact that we have to wear these masks, and I'll be the first to
right.
say I don't want to wear a mask. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't want to, but given the situation,
Hmm.
it's something that I personally believe it's important in terms of keeping others safe.
Yes.
So with that said, when you said that to me, I took that away after we hung up, or whatever, we're texting, and I thought about it. I kept on thinking about it and thinking about it. I said, you know, there's something there, because everything I look at out there, you know, there's standard prints and their fabric patterns that are out there that are
Hmm.
just like generic and the same old thing. And I said, what can we do with this? So while I was letting that ruminate and think, I was thinking about that.
It was
I
like
was
3 in the
working.
morning, wasn't it?
I don't know. I don't know. That's you. You don't sleep, but you know.
You don't sleep either, but I remember you
Uh,
said, I didn't sleep last night, I thought about this. I'm like, wow, okay.
no, it was a great challenge, because as I was working on creating the face mask that I sell on the site, for me it was all about making sure that it functioned correctly in terms of having the right fit. It was, you know, constructed beautifully. It had the right coverage. And for me personally, I don't like masks that have the ear loops around the ear, because they just really bother me a lot. So all of the masks that I produce on the site are all about, you know, behind the neck, behind the head, whatever, you know, whatever material that may be. So I came back to MJ. I said, listen, let me figure out a way how to take your beautiful designs that you've been doodling and sketching and stuff. Because she showed me a few of the designs she had, and they were very, I mean, they were just beautiful. And I said, let me try to see what we can do with this. And next thing you know, jump forward to whatever time frame it was, I had gone forward and found a supplier that was able to take her, create her designs and sketches and print them on fabric based on specs that I had looked at. And here's what we have. Here is the face mask.
And look what you
So,
created. Yeah.
I mean, you know, this is a team effort, because between, you know, MJ, I mean, this would not have been possible without MJ's beautiful designs. And I'm
Right.
holding up this one because this is the original print that MJ had started with, that she showed me, that I fell in love with. I just love, I love the look and the feel, the green. It felt very summery, and just the effects and everything. And I didn't even know at the time how she constructed this in terms of the design and the pattern. But that's why eventually the line has been called the MJ Cadiz Watercolor Collection, because MJ does watercolors in terms of how she creates the colors and the look and the feel on this one. So, you know, between her creative abilities to come up with these beautiful prints and designs, it was a combination of, these are unique prints, unique designs that feel perfect for the season. They're very feminine. They're just simply beautiful. They're very unique and different. I mean, you won't see this out there anywhere. I mean, I've scoured the internet for all these face masks for patterns and prints and designs, and there's nothing out there like this at all. And so that's why I said, let's make this happen. And so that's where we are today. So let me backtrack a little. MJ, tell us about, you know, the particular process in terms of how you come up with these prints and how you make them, because it's part illustration and part watercolor, but I'll let you explain some of that instead.
Yeah, well, I'll find, I'll think of just some. I'll just sketch things out and then just kind of like sketch it out and just kind of like ruminate about it a little bit. And then I kind of assemble it together. After I'm done sketching it out, I kind of just draw it with an ink pen. I elaborate on that illustration a little bit more, and then I add watercolor to it. And when I put, patterns together, I actually pay attention to the negative space, how things kind of like, I want to kind of create motion within the pattern. So that's why I like it to be, anybody could scan something in and just kind of step and repeat the same pattern over and over again. But for me, I'm very particular about making sure that things kind of like express like motion and just like a feeling of floating in the illustration. And I think that's what makes it whimsical and lighthearted, as opposed to something that's just kind of repeated over and over again, like in a cookie cutter type fashion. So that's my approach when it comes to these patterns for these masks.
Well, it's interesting because I had no idea that you actually applied watercolor to these sketches. I thought that this was all like digital. You were like doing everything on the computer screen and that's how you're doing it. And next thing you know, you tell me you're applying watercolor to this. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, well, because I've done digital illustrations, and when you do apply the watercolor effect, you're missing a part of the process. And for me, this is all about the process, about putting ink on paper and then putting paint on paper. There's just some visceral thing that gives me satisfaction. That's part of the whole daydreaming process that I've got. But whenever you do anything digitally, it's not as much control, and it kind of takes away from the authenticity for me anyway. I want this to be as raw and as artistic as possible. So for me, that's where the roots of why I'm doing what I'm doing, because it's a thing from my childhood, just putting pen or paint on paper. It feels really good to do. And that's what I hope comes across in these patterns. There is a genuine, authentic feel to it.
Oh my God. I mean, they're extremely beautiful and there's that authenticity to it.
And the authenticity is you making these things are like really good quality. When you sent it to me, I was like, have you been doing this like moonlighting? But no, they're also really well made, which is what makes it even more fantastic for me. So from an authentic standpoint, it's your approach to engineering this as well.
Well, no, I mean, it's a total team effort because you inspired me to think out of the box and do something different. And then also, as I looked at your beautiful designs, it made me realize that, you know what, there's got to be a different way of attaching this to your neck and head. And so just having the cotton twill ties as a way to secure it around the face, it adds a different element to it. It still adheres to my philosophy of rather than around the ears, around the neck and the head. And then it just makes it more stylish and fashionable because, I mean, this is a fashion magazine. So I wanted to make sure that these pieces that we have on the store have that stylish, genuine element to them. And this, I mean, just definitely ticks all the boxes and it's just simply beautiful. And to this day, so if you haven't seen the collection, I'll put a link on down below. This is where it all started with this particular pattern. And to this day, this is still my favorite pattern. Out of everything that MJ's created. She's created a bunch of different ones. But when I saw this one, I just totally fell in love with it. And this is how it all started so that everybody knows kind of the story. And MJ, why don't you tell us a little bit about kind of a teaser of what we're doing next, because there is more to come, not just this and what we have currently on the website. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Well, there's after showing a few of my closest colleagues, they're all asking like, what other patterns are you coming up with? Do you have something more gender neutral or more masculine, but still within the nature theme? Which is the theme that I kind of want to stick with, because there is something nice about the whole nature feel. So there's that. We're playing with some ideas with that, and that's definitely coming on the horizon. But something more gender neutral and more masculine, but still keeping with the nature theme. So yeah, more to come for sure.
Definitely more to come. So we're working on that. But then as we speak, we currently have 3 of MJ's designs on the website. But as a little teaser, there are a couple more coming your way. So just be prepared because, you know, we launched with 3 designs, but there's actually a couple more coming. So stay tuned and take a look at those because these are additional beautiful prints that MJ has created that's in the same vein as and the style and the look of the watercolor that you see here with the nature. But it's going to be a little bit different in terms of just the overall look. I'm going to say, I don't know. For me, MJ, they're a little bit bolder because of just the color scheme in them and just the visual cues. So that's how I'm calling it, but I'm excited because they're going to be showing up on the website soon. So definitely take a look at those. But again, you know, it's all about collaborating and working together because, you know, so MJ and I live I mean, we're in the same state. Let's just say that, you know, a lot of the people I deal with and work with are like all over the globe based on different places around, you know, as far as where fashion is. But you know, we'll be texting each other. We'll do a call or whatever. We'll chat. But working with MJ is such a pleasure because, you know, we bounce ideas off of each other. She's open to different things, and she just has this style in terms of her creations that just are just perfect many times. And like, you know, I'll give her one comment or anything like that, and then we go from there. So it's just an easy process. I mean, well, I mean, I remember from the days when we used to work together, it was just, you know, like, I'm going to work with this woman wherever she goes or whatever happens with. So she's stuck with me. So
we did. We definitely kept in touch all these years. It's been pretty amazing. But yeah, now it comes full circle.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited that we're here together and doing something creative. And, you know, at the same time, you know, it's creative, but also helping serve a purpose out there in this world, given the times that we live in. So if you're going to have to go out there with something on your face, it might as well look beautiful and functional at the same time. And so that's what hopefully we're bringing to all of you out there today. So,
thank you. And thank you. I mean, VRAI is all about celebrating life and artists and creativity. I'm so glad to be a part of that.
Thank you. No, it's my pleasure. I'm the fortunate one. Just say, MJ, thanks so much for joining us in this episode of VRAI Talk. And for everybody watching, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe. We've got a lot more shows coming up. And thanks so much for watching. And we will see you next time on an episode of VRAI Talk. Bye-bye.